MyMaps is easily my favorite tool. Here's the website for you, mymaps.google.com. When you go to that site, it changes the address slightly. In this space right here, you'll probably have a little ghosty guy that says you have no maps. What you'll do here is click Create a New Map. This gives you a blank flat map of the world. If you want to see a different part of the world, you can grab with your mouse, click and hold, and it moves. Notice the clicker turns into a fist when you click, and then you can grab and move around. You can also use in the bottom here your zoom plus and minus tools. So zoom way out or way in on space. If you wanted to change the base map, you can click here and it will look like a political map or a satellite, which looks a little bit more like Google Earth. And then some of these other terrain maps, some of them are easier. It doesn't matter which one you use, they all work the same and nothing changes as you're using them. I'm going to use the satellite one because I think it's a little clearer for my demo. I would title the layers. So for example, if I say Spanish speaking countries in South America, I might make that my first layer, right? And then I'll go ahead and find some. So if I can see them right here, but if I want to make my own like catalog, I can type in places like Peru, and I can go to click right here, and it drops a pin for me. So if I want this pin to be added to my map, I'll click Add to Map, and then over here it says Peru. This can be useful for a couple of things. One, now that I've dropped a pin, I can also go in and change the color of the pin. It's called a marker in Google. I can make it a special icon. And I can also type a little bit more about it. So the old capital was Cusco. I could add a picture. Click the picture here. And let's say I want a picture of Cusco. I can do a Google image search and type in Cusco. And there's Cusco right there, and click Select. And what this does is it makes a slideshow. Now this slideshow can be up to 25 slides long. And when I'm done, I'll hit Save, and I'll have these next arrows. So I can go through up to 25 things, and I can also add more text content like I did right here. I can close it with the X, and it keeps it over here under Spanish-speaking countries in South America. Now, if I wanted to make another layer, maybe Spanish-speaking countries, in Europe, I can click Add Layer, click right on Untitled, and I'll change it to in Europe, and hit Save. Now, to find Spain really fast, I can just type in Spain, and my map will zip right over across the ocean. Click Add to Map, and then I can type things like, notice I'm grabbing and sliding, right? Spain is muy bueno. And then hit Save. Over here on the side, it's cataloging everything I'm doing. Now, I don't necessarily have to use separate layers. I like to use layers. You don't really have to. Also inside the layers, you can use a tool right up here called Draw a Line. This is one of my favorite tools to use for geography reasons. So if I click on this, I can click Add Line or Shape, and I can trace Spain. So if I want, I'll click and move. Let me zoom in a bit. Click, move, click. You're only clicking one time and moving. If you double click, it messes everything up. So you don't want to double click. To move it around, you can also use the up and down arrows on your keyboard. That makes it easier to be more exact when you zoom in. So here I'm going around Gibraltar. There we go, and something like that. If I did it correctly, it closes it and calls it a polygon. If I didn't do it correctly, it'll call it a line, and I'll want to delete that. So I'll type in Spain and hit Save. Okay, so now I have Spain outlined. I can make Spain red, so I'll click on my paint can. And I like to take the polygon transparency to half and the border width to half. It just looks a little nicer. And then I can close it. There's a few different reasons for doing this. You might trace the outline of the country, and then inside the country, you might label the places. So the places might be markers, like here's Madrid and Seville, and add to map, right? So I'm adding these on the map. So now if I zoom out, notice it's pink. That's because that's the color of my layer. If I zoom out, you'll see they're labeled here. If I decide that my outline is not very good and I want to tighten up my borders, I can click on it. I can close this little window, and as long as these little balls are there, I can move things around. And as I slide them around, it tightens up how the screen looks. Pretty stinking exciting stuff. And that's it. Oh, changing the name. You can change it to something like Spanish-speaking countries. Give it a description if you want, and click Save. If you want everyone in the world to see this, you can share it just like a Google Doc. So if a student wants to share it with a student to collaborate on, they can invite one student. They can even make it public on the internet and change it so that anybody on the internet can view it and edit it. So everyone in the class could add to one thing, one map. When you're done, to make sure it locks in, I always go back and change that back to off so that nobody can make more changes. That's Google My Maps. It's my fave.